The worst kept secret in Australian sport has been confirmed.
The Australian Motorcycle Grand Prix. And for the first time ever, unlike anywhere in the world, it will be raced here in the city on a street circuit.
In the heart of our city, bringing it to life, bringing the old F1 Grand Prix track back.
Coming to bed, honey?
Yes, dear.
That's right. MotoGP is going street racing. How's it going, everyone? It's the Natural here, and welcome back to another video on the channel. And this isn't going to be your usual type of video for me. This won't be a topical video. This won't be a bit of storytelling video about the sport, about history, about the riders, about the sport in general. This will be an uncut, unscripted, how I feel about this decision that MotoGP have just done, and that is leave one of the most iconic, picturesque circuits, not just in MotoGP, not just in motorcycle racing, but in motorsport history. And that is leaving Phillip Island to go to a street track in Adelaide. And like I said, this is just going to be my own thoughts and my own opinions on this, and I probably feel as much as everybody else feels right now who loves MotoGP, who loves motorcycle racing and loves the sport in general. They feel very, very angry, disgusted, and quite frankly, betrayed, really. And I would say this, if you are new to MotoGP for the last 18 months, or maybe just today really, and you may think, what's all the big hullabaloo about this? To be honest, MotoGP is leaving one track to go to another. Well, I'm just going to give you a little bit of a history lesson as to why this is one of the worst decisions I have ever seen from any elite sports organization do. Because Phillip Island has been hosting MotoGP, Grand Prix motorcycle racing, for a very, very long time. The first Grand Prix was in 1989 and 1990 before it took a couple of years away, and it was back on the calendar in 1997. And from 1997 to 2026, MotoGP, the Australian Grand Prix, has always been at Phillip Island. Why Phillip Island? Because Phillip Island is the greatest ever race circuit ever made for motorcycle racing. It's probably one of the greatest race circuits in the history of any race circuit in the world. If everyone in the world says their best, their top three, top two, maybe even the number one best race circuit for motorcycle racing or just motorsport in general, is Phillip Island. Why? Because of everything it has. The racing, the corners, the community. It's steeped in everything, to be honest. And now MotoGP has just announced that Phillip Island is not going to be hosting MotoGP anymore, along with not hosting World Superbikes, which is currently racing this weekend at round 1 at Phillip Island, and it's going to Adelaide, a street track in the heart, the city centre of Adelaide. And World Superbikes, which is, like I said, is currently racing this weekend at Phillip Island at round 1 of the 2026 season, they're going to Motorsport Park The Bend. So not only is Phillip Island losing MotoGP, is also losing World Superbikes. I don't know what to say. Like I said, this is going to be, like I said, an uncut, say how I feel, because I just can't fabricate in my brain that this is actually happening. For MotoGP, a elite level sport, not just motorsport, but sport in general, to leave Phillip Island, but to go to a street track, I just can't fabricate that in my brain. Who thought that was a good decision for the sport in general, to be honest? I understand MotoGP needs to bring in a new audience. I understand it needs to bring in a new younger audience. It needs to grow. I get all that. That's what I'm doing this channel for, to be honest, is to be sort of engaging for new fans to understand what this sport is. That's what me and my team here are trying to do. What isn't a good idea to bring new fans in is building a completely new race circuit in the city centre and making a street track out of it. I think this is a terrible decision because Adelaide has got no motorcycle racing culture. I understand MotoGP, like I said, needs to go to many different venues, needs to go to sport, and I get all that, but to go to Adelaide, a street track, where technically it's that other racing series street track used to race round, I think it's a terrible decision. It's an awful decision, to be honest, and it's a decision, obviously, that MotoGP and the government in Australia and many other people haven't consulted the fans, haven't consulted the riders, haven't consulted anyone at all, to be honest. Probably haven't even consulted Phillip Island, who are the ones hosting the Grand Prix every single year since '97. Like I said, I think this is a terrible decision. I think it's not a good look for MotoGP, to be honest, because racing around the streets of Adelaide may be in someone's brain, may look like an amazing dream idea, but when you actually put it in reality and put it out for the people to see, it's a freaking disaster. It's absolutely, completely and utterly bonkers, to be honest. I made a video a couple of months ago talking about why MotoGP don't go to certain circuits, and I specifically said in that video why MotoGP don't go to street tracks. Obviously, the biggest no-no as to why MotoGP doesn't go to street tracks is safety. At actual Grand Prix circuits, they are designed with massive, huge runoff areas with gravel traps, air fences around the barriers, and other safety measures to keep riders safe and obviously slow bikes down when they crash. And yet, next year in 2027, MotoGP is going to a street track. I feel so sorry for Phillip Island. I feel so sorry for the community of Phillip Island and everybody who puts on an amazing event there every single year, not just for MotoGP, also for World Superbikes, and it's just completely gone, you know. And the future of Phillip Island now is definitely up in the air because if MotoGP's not going there and World Superbikes is leaving Phillip Island and it's going to go to Motorsport Park, the Bend in Adelaide, what is the future of Phillip Island? You know, is Phillip Island now just going to be this, you know, historical circuit that's just nothing anymore? It's just sad. It's really sad, and I don't like this decision. Like I said, I speak as a fan, but I also speak as a motorcycle racing enthusiast. I think this is a shocking decision for the culture, for everything about Phillip Island, and people might think this is good for MotoGP to race around Adelaide. It exposes the sport to new fans, new audiences, when actually it's a danger to the sport. MotoGP should never, ever, ever, ever race around street tracks. Whatever safety they can do, it's still a street track. The sport doesn't need street tracks. The sport is amazing for what it is. For losing Phillip Island to go to a street track in Adelaide, you're losing its soul. Phillip Island, I've said this so many times, is part of the big five most iconic motorcycle circuits. But most important of all, it's the big five of MotoGP. Phillip Island's one of them. Athens is another one. Brno in Czechia. Mugello and Jerez. Those five, for me, are the biggest for MotoGP. We go there every year. The fans absolutely packed to the rafters. It's iconic, it's history, it's got everything. And now we've seen MotoGP last year go to a brand new track in Hungary, in Bolton Park. And the less I speak about that track, the better. Like I said, I think this is a terrible and shocking decision from MotoGP and the people who are now running the sport, Liberty Media, Dorna, MotoGP, Sport Global, Entertainment Group, whatever one they call themselves. Like I said, I'm not happy by this decision at all, and I speak for like everybody else. A lot of other fans, riders I know have come to me and say they don't like this decision either. And we've seen Casey Stoner talk about this. We've seen many people talk about this. This is a terrible decision for the sport of motorcycle racing, MotoGP and World Superbikes to just leave Phillip Island like roadkill and just move to a street track in Adelaide. And also this will just open Pandora's box to maybe MotoGP and World Superbikes having more street track, maybe add more street tracks to the calendar. Is America going to have street tracks? Are MotoGP going to leave Silverstone to go to a street track in London? Because once Adelaide is allowed a street track, God knows how many others. Or it may not even happen at all. I mean, we've seen MotoGP in the past go to so many new venues and never materialise. You know, for example, Finland and the Circuit of Wales and Kazakhstan. I can go on. There's so many venues MotoGP is supposed to go to and it never materialises. So we'll see, to be honest, if MotoGP does go to a street track in Adelaide or many other street tracks in the future. But for me, like I said, as somebody who's watched this sport my whole entire life as a kid, and as somebody who is passionate about motorcycle racing and is passionate about this sport, this is not good for the sport. This is not what this sport is all about. You know, it's not at all. The racing is what makes the sport, not some sort of fake entertainment show just to single-handedly bring a bunch of fans who aren't really fans. This sport isn't fake, this sport's real. The riders are real. The circuits are real. The bikes are real. Everything about this sport is real. You can't just make fake for the sake of it. And putting a street track in Adelaide is a terrible decision. Awful decision. And I, for once, don't like it. Phillip Island, for me, will always be the Australian Grand Prix. Phillip Island, for me, will always be the home of Australian motorsport for motorcycle racing in World Superbikes and in MotoGP, not this street track in Adelaide. That's all I've got to say. Hope you all have an amazing day, and I'll see you in another video.